Okay, so moving along here. So why do we need all these controls? Wouldn't life be simpler without any controls on the units, Chris?
So when you think about this, and the reason we put this together, it's higher efficiency comes with complexity.
Mm-hmm.
That need for, again, I always pick on ASHRAE and the DOE. And the reason when I'm teaching around, I said, so you can have any conditions you want in your space as long as you use zero energy and no refrigerant. So as we're kind of getting to that, we're getting the refrigerant charges lighter. We're having to be more efficient. We don't
Yeah,
have the capability like we did in the past to store the refrigerant within the system. We used to stack refrigerant in specific places within condenser coils and so on. Well, we don't have that ability any longer. So it's it's simply, we're almost at the point where we are running the unit right on the red line. And if anything
mm,
has a hiccup, we then trip the unit. We have the nuisance trips that we have to deal with. So we're really having to get much more precise on controls. So the days of the thermostat by itself are not something that's going to be conducive to that energy efficiency, because even in the residential world, when you think about where we're going, we're having multi-speed fans, variable speed fans, or multi-step fans. We're having multi-step compressors, inverter-driven compressors, a lot of things to really, again, great things to be able to drive that efficiency, drive that performance, but at the same time, it doesn't come with just the capability to turn on a switch.
right. And could you educate me a little bit on the refrigerant discussion? I understand the energy efficiency part of it. Could you help me understand the refrigerant side of
Well,
what you explained?
well, when we talk about refrigerants, obviously we have to, I mean, obviously we're taking advantage of the BTU carrying capability of the phase change refrigerants. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but at the same time, there's a lot of discussions on the change in refrigerant coming at the same time. So we have a
Mm,
lot of things on that refrigerant. So we're basically, when you think about what we're doing, all we're doing is really capturing the phase change, but at the same time, we have to store liquid refrigerant in some places and we have to have a gaseous state refrigerant in other places, and we want less and less of it. So we have to be very critical on exactly where that phase change
I
occurs.
gotcha.
And that's the controllability, is we have to very precisely control exactly where that happens.
Got it. Thanks for that clarification. I like the so we do a lot of posting online and we get a lot of comments of, like we sell a lot of dehumidification equipment, right? That has hot gas reheat. It has the ability to control temperature, humidity, overall load conditions. And we'll post some stuff like that. And I'll get comments sometimes of along the lines of there's too much stuff. It's too technical. It's overkill. And I'm like, well, if you want to do the things it's doing, you have to have these components in the unit, right? Like it's technical for a reason. If you don't need that, then a thermostat and a little board on a on-off unit will work fine. So, Kirk, any comments on
Yeah.
this discussion?
Yeah. So, I mean, they definitely, you're right, Tony, when you don't need a complex system and you don't need to deal with dehumidification, there are still applications that can run off thermostat. But alluding to what Chris said, even residential systems, everybody, when they think of HVAC controls, they think about big buildings that are going for energy savings, but we're moving towards everybody. Your standard home is going to have a sophisticated control system in the very near future. It's already being done in many aspects, and the changes to reduce the amount of refrigerant we use, like Chris is talking about, not only is it controlling it, but also catching it whenever it does start to deviate to correct the phasing issue, right? So that we have the state change in the correct location. And it's a complex understanding, right?
Right. I like the home thing. I like when I go home and the air conditioner's on down, or the heater's on downstairs and the air conditioner's on upstairs. It's a great dehumidification strategy.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes in our house in the shoulder months. But anyway, okay. So that's a great introduction to, why we need controls and the complexity of it and along those lines. So